running for the Kansas State House of Representatives in the 45th District. There's a map over there, right behind Rex. You can see it. It's a pretty big area. It's a large swath from 6th and Wakarusa all the way to the county line, up to the river, down past Lone Star. It's big. And I'm proud to live here. I'm proud to live in Kansas, where last night President Obama reminded us that there are important virtues that are meaningful in this state. Kindness, courtesy, humility, responsibility, and helping each other out. That's who we are in Kansas. I think the 45th District is the most beautiful part of this state. We have fantastic things here. We have Clinton Lake. We have a great dog park. We have wonderful hiking trails. We have the sports pavilion in Rock Chalk Park. We have the South Lawrence Traffic Way that's just being born. We have new businesses that are popping up every day. We have a lot to look forward to. Our future is very bright here. Now, for those of you who don't know me all that well, I haven't always lived in Kansas. I grew up out west in a very tiny community inside a very big city. I've been lucky enough to live all over the world in some places you would not believe. I take after my dad, who gave me the passion to do what's right, and not just for myself, but for my community. I also take after my mom, from whom I inherited a gutsy spirit and the ability to rise to any occasion. About a dozen years ago, I met the love of my life online. So I moved to Kansas. Yeah, I know, Yahoo Personals. And I'm so glad I did. I fell in love with this place, and the 6 acres that we live on west of town is the one place in the world where I feel true peace. And while I love Lawrence and this state in particular, I'm dismayed by the hateful dysfunction that has infected our home. In 2010, a movement that had been long in coming took us by storm, and Governor Brownback and his Koch-led extremist conservative agenda came to power. The common sense Kansas approach that had long been the trademark of Democratic and Republican politics, the sensible government that I respected when I moved here, was thrown aside. They took advantage of us in the middle of a recession. They took advantage of us when we were at our weakest. And now they've taken our schools and our jobs and our prosperity and our resources and our savings, and for some of us, our retirement.
Yeah.
They targeted moderate Republicans in 2012 because moderation was, to them, a sign of weakness. They cannibalized their own, who wouldn't go along with their plans to abandon all sensible leadership. Simple, chomp chomp, bye-bye. Well, they've shown they won't work with moderate Republicans. We've seen it time and time again. The school bills, the budget bills, the road funds, the retirement funds, they've taken away our local control. They've allowed guns in our public buildings and on our campuses. All of these travesties and more have been foisted upon us by an extremist agenda with people who refuse to consider moderation a virtue. Now, I'm running for a seat in the Kansas State House of Representatives precisely because moderation is no longer tolerated in Kansas. You know it, I know it, and my Republican opponent knows it. Now, don't get me wrong. Representative Sloan has done yeoman's work on behalf of the people of our district for years. Keith and I have voted for him, as many of you have. He served us fairly well for 22 years. Let me repeat that. 22 years. Back when he first came to office, way back in 1994, I don't even know where I was in 1994, I sure never thought I'd be living in Kansas. He was a GOP insider. He was the chief of staff for the Senate Republicans. Now that sounds like someone who should know what they're doing. Someone who should know how to get things done. But the legislature of that day no longer exists. Its time has come and gone, as has his. Now, how do we know that? We know because my career politician, 22-year veteran, Republican opponent has been shoved aside and denied any ability to effect positive change within his own party, writ large, and within our own district, writ small. He's been in the House for 22 years, and he's been assigned a desk in the last row of the chamber next to the exit sign. What does that tell you about how well he is respected? Now, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying it is what it is. So, he has no voice within his own party, no voice within the legislature, and no voice for us as a result of that. Now, we should feel bad for him, and many of us do. But I have to ask how he has reacted to this turn of events. Instead of standing up and saying no, he spends much of his time traveling around the country, chasing national policy wonks, missing key votes we need him for, and proposing pieces of legislation he knows will go nowhere, figuratively throwing up his hands and saying, I tried, but not quite being able to carry that ball across the goal line. He watched his own party eat itself and destroy our state, and was either powerless or unwilling to do anything about it. And with the way things are going in Kansas, I don't believe we can afford much more of that kind of leadership. I don't believe we can afford to have someone represent us who doesn't show up. I don't believe we can afford to have someone represent us who can't, or won't, stand up to Sam Brownback. We're lucky in District 45. We have great city and county leaders who have improved things immensely for our neighborhoods. Wouldn't it be nice if we had that same kind of leadership in the State House on behalf of our district?
Yeah.
I think so. I come from a long line of people who know how to get things done. I come from a long line of women who are never satisfied and do not give up. Just ask my husband. I know what it means to work hard, to learn fast, to challenge authority, and most importantly, to put others' needs before my own. That's how I was raised.
Yeah.
Representative Manning was right to see that workers are treated well and fairly compensated for the jobs they do. I'm sorry, but this whole right to work stuff, it's right to be fired, and I have a real problem with it.
Right.
Representative Manies will fight loud and hard to see safe roads maintained. Representative Manies will not just support our schools, she will fight to help them reclaim their rightful places as national examples of greatness.
Yeah.
Now, Representative Manies will do whatever she can for the people in this state to help remind them that common sense solutions are worth fighting for. Now, some of you have heard about my little visit with Secretary of State Kobach at Lecompton Territorial Days. If you haven't, I'll tell you about it later. It was fun. But the gist of it is this. I'm not afraid of Chris Kobach, and I'm not afraid of Sam Brownback. I am a Democrat.
Yeah.
I am a Democrat. And they have nothing on me. They have no power over me. The only thing I'm afraid of is watching the state I love continue to spiral downward. So it's time for the 45th District to have a representative who's willing to stand up and say loud and clear, enough is enough, no more, not in our state.